Hi, my name is Miss Katie, and this video is to introduce the Distar reading program for those of you who want to use it at home. I have used this book for 18 years in preschool. I've used it with my own 2 children to teach them how to read, and I've used it with several children outside the classroom. I tell everybody I know about it who has 3, 4, and 5-year-old children. It is just an incredible program. Not only does it teach the children how to read, but it also teaches punctuation, prediction, comprehension, the sounds, the letters, and compound sounds. It's an amazing, amazing program. So I tell everybody I know about it. It is well worth your time. We do a lot of the reading program in class, but this book and program has been adapted to a parent-child one-on-one situation where you work with your child with this book. And it needs to be done pretty consistently, about 6 days a week. As long as you're pretty consistent, if you miss a day here or there, it's not a huge deal. But consistency, even a little bit, even 10 minutes a day, is going to be huge with this program. So if you would like to use this program, the materials you're going to need are this book. You can get it on Amazon for $18.99, and that's today's prices. I'm not sure what it'll be when you watch this video. It's January 2023. But the price has stayed pretty consistently over the years. In fact, I think it's dropped. It used to be $20. So $18.99 on Amazon. I also have a few copies that you can check out if you'd like to check them out. I do ask for a $15 deposit, and then when you return the book, you get the entire $15 back. So you can use the program at no cost. The only other thing you need is some lined paper and a pencil or pen. Preferably a pencil, because the kids will be using it to write their letters. If you have a book with you, if you want to grab it and get it out, that's great. If you don't have one, that's totally fine. You can get one, and then you can write down some notes, and when you get the book, you can go through it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me when you get your book. Okay, when you get your book, if you haven't gotten it already, I highly recommend that the first thing you do is open up to page 9 and read the parent guide. Read through the entire parent's guide, because it's going to give you a lot of information about the program, how it works. There's also guides in here with all the sounds and how to write the sounds. So it's a really, really helpful tool. It also gives you a really good idea of what you're doing in the program and why you're doing the skills that you're doing during the program. So first thing, read the parent's guide. And then when you get ready to start your lessons, before you start any lesson with your child, I would read over them. You can read over 1 lesson a day, 1 lesson before you start. You can read over a couple of lessons in advance. Once you get the hang of it, when you go to look through the lesson, you'll see that a lot of the skills that they do, or the tasks, are the same ones that repeat, so you'll know how to do those. But every once in a while, they'll throw in a new task. And the reason you want to read ahead of time is so that when you're sitting there with your child and you have their attention for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, if you have to stop and figure out what you're doing, you're going to lose their attention really quickly, and they might be on to something else, and it will be difficult to get them back into the mode of doing the reading program. So read ahead of time, just glance through things. The first few lessons you'll want to read through all the way. They're not very long at all. So read through those, make sure you know what you're doing, and then go ahead and start a lesson with your child. Okay, I am going to go through the very first lesson with you so you can kind of get an idea of how it moves through the lesson and what you'll be doing with your child. What's great about this program is everything you need to do and everything you need to say is spelled out for you in every lesson. So in brackets, it's going to tell you what you should do. So this first one says point to M. And then in red is what you're going to say. And in black quotation marks is what your child should say. So this is the first part of lesson number 1. It says, I'm going to touch under this sound and say the sound. It tells me to touch under it, start with the first ball, and then move quickly to the next dot and say the sound, and then move to the arrow. So it tells me to do that in this book. So I'm going to say the sound. Your turn to say the sound when I touch under it. Get ready. And then it tells you to prompt your child to say the sound when you touch under it. So they would say the sound Good. And then in these boxes right here, it has a correction. So it says to correct your child saying the wrong sound or not responding, say the sound is get ready, and then you would repeat it again. So they even have little corrections or tips that you can use with your child if they're saying the incorrect sound. One real quick thing that I'd like to point out is it's really important that the kids are saying the sounds correctly. So for this sound, you don't want them saying things like or ma or You don't want them to put any vowel sounds with it. You just want them saying the sound There's a letter guide in the parents guide section in the front of the book that has a list of all the sounds, and it has a word with the sound in it, so you can kind of get an idea of what they want the child to say, what sound they want. So it's got to be very clear if they're adding on any other vowel sounds onto the sound. It's going to be really hard when they're reading words, because they're going to say, if they're sounding out mom, they're going to be sounding out and they're not going to be able to get the word. Hopefully that makes sense. So make sure they're saying the sound correctly. So you would say it again. Okay, your turn to say the sound. Get ready. And then they would say the sound and stop when you get to the end. Another really important thing, and it's something that we always work on in the class, is that they don't say the sound until you're touching under it. That's really important, because when they're sounding out a word, you don't want them to get ahead of you with the sounds. You want them to make sure they're saying the sound under as you touch under each letter, if that makes sense. Okay, and I'll go on with another word in just a minute for that. Okay, then it says I'm going to touch under this sound and say the sound. S. Your turn to say the sound. When I touch under it, get ready. S. So they'll say the sound. And then you repeat that again. Then task 2 says say it fast. So it tells you to say, let's play say it fast. My turn. Motor, and then it tells you to pause. Boat, and it tells you to pause again. Say it fast. Motorboat. Now it's your turn. Wait until I tell you to say it fast. Motor, boat. Say it fast. And then they will say motorboat fast. Again, it has a correction. If your child's saying the word slowly, or if they're pausing in between, it tells you what you can do to correct that. So those are really helpful tips. So it goes through lots of words with the say it fast task, so you'll go through each one. It's really important not to skip any of the tasks, even if your child is a genius at the task, even if they are so good at it. Repetition is key in this program. So make sure that you're still going through each one, even if it seems tedious or redundant. Please make sure you're doing all the tasks that it says. It's very beneficial for the kids when they're reading. Task number 3 is say the sounds. So you say, I'm going to say some words slowly without stopping. Then you'll say them with me. First I'll say am slowly. Listen. Am. Now I'll say me slowly. Listen. Me. And then you'll go on with the rest of the words. Then you'll say, now it's your turn to say the words slowly with me. Take a deep breath and we'll say am. Get ready. Am. So everything in red is what you say, and then you'll see in quotation marks is what your child should say. Most of those should be in black. There are some typos where what you say is in black, what they say is in red, but you'll get the hang of it. It's pretty easy to tell what you should say and what they should say. So then you'll go on with more words in task 3 where you say it slowly, have them say them with you. And then task number 4, you go back to saying the sounds. So you say, let's do the sounds again. See if you remember them. Get ready. And hopefully they will remember the sound If not, you can say it for them. Say, this sound is Your turn, get ready. And then hopefully they'll say it again. And if you have to do it a couple times for them to get the sound, totally fine. Just make sure they're saying it at least once. Then you'll do the same with this sound. And then you'll play say it fast again. Let's play say it fast again. Listen, motorcycle. Say it fast. And then they'll say motorcycle. Say it fast. Me. And then they'll say it fast. Me. Oh, so you say it slowly. Me. And then you tell them, say it fast. Me. That is a really, really important skill because they sound out the word slowly, and then later on in the book, you'll have them sound out a word slowly, and then you'll have them say it fast. So that's a really important skill for them to learn. Then task number 6 is sound writing. So you'll want your kids or your child to write down the sounds that they've learned that day, and it tells you which ones. So it says today you're going to write the letter M and the letter S. And what I'd like the kids to use for writing their sounds is a lined paper. I have plenty of this, and I can print out as much as you need. So please let me know if you need some lined paper. I will print it out for you. And each lesson, the kids only need to write 3 of each sound. So for this first lesson, they would write 3 M's and 3 S's. So it should only take up a little part of this line. So this paper should last a while, but if they write big letters or if they like to do a lot of them, it's totally fine. Let me know anytime you need more paper. But I like this paper because it gives them some structure and helps them learn how to write their letters correctly and keep them neatly and proportionate. So anytime you need this paper, let me know. So that's lesson 1. That's it. So then you'll go on to lesson 2. I would read through it. A lot of the tasks are the same. Sound review, say it fast, say the sounds, and then sound writing again. As you go through the book, you'll notice that some of the letters, when they start introducing compound sounds, like TH, they're touching. You'll also notice some of the letters, like the long E has a line over it. The long I has a line over it. Let me see if I can find one. Maybe it's not introduced till back here. Some of the letters are small. Those letters are silent sounds. The book introduces those to your child so they know what they are and what to do with them. Every step of the way, the book will introduce new things, and it will help you explain that to your child. So there's no guesswork here. It is spelled out for you. It's very, very user-friendly. And as you go through the book, a couple of things that I get a lot of questions about are they use this funny looking A. Okay, so in the book, they use this funny looking A with the little hook on the top. And there is a reason for that. In most text, including the text you use on your phone, in most children's books, in most literature, printed literature, they use this letter A. And it was interesting when I first realized that because I thought, no, they don't. I've never seen that A. And then I've gone back through books. I look at my text on my phone, and sure enough, they use this A. So the program wanted to introduce this A to the kids so that it wouldn't be unfamiliar or they wouldn't be confused with what this is. So in class, I show them this A. When we write our letters, we use the other A, just the circle with the line down the side. And I tell the kids that they're the same letter. They're both the letter A, they both say ah. This is just a fun way to write it, and the other way is a different way to write it. So I introduce both of the letters to them so they recognize both of them. And then I let them choose which one they want to write. So if they want to write this one at the end of their lesson, that's great. If they want to write just the circle with the line, that's great too. It doesn't matter either way. But in the reading program, you will see this A. That will be introduced so that when they transition to books, they'll already know what this letter is. Okay, as you go through the reading program, as you get further and further into the book, you'll notice that the lessons will get longer. The first ones you'll probably breeze through pretty quickly. As you get through to these later lessons, the kids will be reading a full story. And they will have the kids sound out all the words and read through the story once, and then they'll have them read it again. So these lessons can get pretty long. They also have a picture that they will want you to cover up before you introduce the story. So I just use the paper, the lined paper, and I use it as a bookmark, I use it as letter writing, and I also use it to cover up the pictures. So when they're reading the story, you want to cover it up. They'll read through it again, and then they'll ask some prediction questions. So after they read it, they'll ask the kids, what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is in the picture? What do you think they're going to be doing in the picture? Things like that. Those questions are really, really important. And it's something that you can use when you're reading your child a book at night. Prediction questions are great. It gets their minds thinking, it's creative, it's an imaginative thing for them to practice and do. And there's no wrong answer. They can predict anything. And then once you ask the prediction questions, you'll show them the book, or you'll show them the picture, and then it will ask some comprehension questions. You can always help your child. You can help them remember by asking some clue questions, like, do you remember the frog was where? Where was he? And you can kind of help them along with that. Comprehension is huge. It is a big deal in reading. It's a big, big deal through school. So this book will help them with that comprehension as you move through the books. Also, as the lessons get longer, please feel free to break the lessons up so that they're not so long. So if you need to do half a lesson one day and the other half of the lesson the next day, that's totally fine. These can get really long and really stressful for you and your child, and we don't want that to be the case. We want it to be a fun learning experience. It is a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. This program is a lot of work. As spelled out and easy as it is to use, having your child being motivated to do this every day does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience on your part. So just take it at your pace. If you have to break these lessons up, that is totally okay to do that. Also, they introduce the letters as sounds. So they don't say the names of the letters, they just introduce them as sounds. When you get to about lesson 70, right through those lessons, that's when they start introducing the names of the letters. And then they also, toward the end of the book, they start transitioning. So some of these letters, like I said, they have a line over the top, or the TH or the CH, the letters will be touching. The silent letters are small. They start transitioning in lessons through the 70s from that text to a regular text. That is a really tough brick wall to break through. For the kids to get that transition takes a little bit of effort. You might have to repeat some of the lessons. So if your child's not getting something, it's okay to go back and repeat it, or to do it a few times until they get it. So just know when you get to the 70s, it's going to be a little bit harder to get through, but if you push through it, take it a little bit slower, take it at your child's pace, you will get through it. And then by the end, they're reading at a second grade level, and they're able to transition from this reading program to regular books very, very easily. So don't get discouraged. Hang in there. This book takes a lot of work. This program takes a lot of work, but it is well worth it. The other thing also that I forgot to mention is the book also teaches the kids punctuation. So all of the punctuation, it teaches them what it is and what it's for and how you use it when you read. So that's a big deal. One quick thing to remember when you get done with this reading program, your child will be reading wherever you are in the program. Your child will start to be reading, and there's a temptation for us as parents to want our child to read all the time. So we kind of hand that over to them, and we want them to read. I'm guilty of this with my own kids. Once my boys learned how to read, I would, at night when we had story time, I would have them read the books. That is a great, great thing. The only problem is they lose listening to you reading to them, which helps them with inflection, fluidity, things like that that are really important in reading. So they still need to hear you read to them. So when you're done with this program, even if they're reading at a second grade level, it's a really good idea to balance the two. Have them read one night, you read the other night, or there's some really great books out called I Read, You Read. And on one page, they have a really simplified version that your child can read. And on the other side, they have the adult page for the adults to read. So it's a little bit more complicated or at a higher level. So you can have your child read one side of the page, and then you read the other side, then you turn the page, and then they read and you read. Those books are great because they come at levels. So they have level 1 all the way up through, I think, level 10, or even higher than that. I've seen them at Walmart, I've seen them at Costco, you can get them on Amazon. It's I Read, You Read, or You Read, I Read. I wished I had one here that I could show you, but those are great books to use when your child's done with the program. Okay, as you go through the reading program, one of the most important things that you need to watch for is if your child is pausing in between sounds when they start sounding out words or putting sounds together. So what I mean by that is when you sound out a word or when they're sounding out a word, you want them to say the sounds together like this. Cat. And then they would say it fast, cat. So again, that's cat all together. So what you don't want for them to do is to pause in between each sound. For example, like this. K, a, t. When they do that, when they pause in between sounds, what happens is when they get to longer words, if they're pausing in between every sound, by the time they get down to these sounds down here, they've forgotten the first sounds, and then they can't hear the word when it's time for them to say it fast. So when they're sounding out words, what they want you to do is have them say it slowly first like this, cat, and they'll have you do it again, cat, and then you'll ask them to say it fast, cat. So when they've gotten into longer words, if they're pausing in between those letters, it is extremely difficult for them to hear the word by the time they get to the last sound. So it's really important that you're doing those say it slow skills where they're saying me or am. Those skills are really important so they can hear how those sounds are connected from one to the next instead of pausing in between those. So if your child is doing that, if they are pausing in between the sounds, what you want to do is say, okay, we want to say the sounds together without stopping in between. Listen like this. Cat. You try it with me, and then you have them say it with you. If they can say it with you a couple of times slowly where they're saying all the sounds together, then you can move on. If they're still pausing in between, I would stop and work on that with just one or two words until they get it. And if that takes up your whole lesson time, that's okay. Come back to it the next day, review it, see if they can say the word without pausing in between or say the sounds without pausing in between, and then you can move on. But that is a really, really important thing that you want to watch for and correct immediately, because when they're using these short words, it's really easy when there's 2 or 3 letters in a word. They can put the pause in between and they can still sound out the word. But the problem comes later, and by then the habit's already formed and it's really difficult to break. So make sure you're watching for that right away and correct it immediately. If you have any questions, always remember you can reach out to me for anything at any time. Okay, just a couple more things. On the calendar that I send out every month, starting in January, I have the lessons at the bottom of each day. So lesson 1 is starting on January 16th. If it's past that date already, please don't stress. Just start when you can. Start when you get the book. Make sure you read the parent's guide, read over a couple of lessons, and then when you're ready, go ahead and start. This is just a guide to help you kind of keep on track if you want to finish by the end of the school year. But if you need to take a little bit longer, if you need to go into the summer months, that is totally okay. I always recommend starting the program after the holidays because it is so difficult with September school starting, October holidays, November, December holidays. It's just kind of crazy, and it's really hard to find a consistent time to do this with your child. So I always have the parents start in January. That gives you January through May, and then if you need to go even into the summer months, those are pretty chill months, and you can do the program as long as you need to. With my own kids, I would actually take the reading program on vacation with us, and we would do it first thing in the morning. And if the lessons were taking a long time, we'd set a timer for 20 minutes, and we would just do it for 20 minutes, and then we would go, we were usually at Disneyland, so we would go to Disneyland, and that was their reward for finishing a lesson that day. You don't have to do that. If you do bring it with you, maybe even bring some flashcards that you can make with some sound cards and just review those while you're on vacation, or maybe in the car. Just try to be as consistent as possible. If you miss a few days here and there, it's not a big deal. If you have an illness or you have a vacation where you don't bring it with you and you miss a lot of days, it's okay. When you get back, just get back onto it. Start wherever you were. If your child's not getting it, go back a few lessons, review, and then move forward from there. I recommend this program for 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. Even Siegfried Engelmann, who wrote the program and did lots of studies on it, extensive studies, he also recommends it for 4 and 5-year-olds. Some 3-year-olds, if they have the attention span, can sit and do the programs, but I started my son when he was 3, and he got to like lesson 75. He did really, really well, but it became a real struggle with him, and it wasn't fun for me, it wasn't fun for him, and I decided to set it aside, and we would wait until he was 4. And I noticed a huge difference with his attention span and with his desire to do the program. So every child is different. You really kind of have to work with your child, kind of pay attention to how they're doing, pay attention to how you're feeling. You don't want this to be a struggle. You don't want it to be stressful. Just take it at your own pace and do what you can. That's all we can do, right? Is just try our best. So hang in there. You can do this. It's incredible to watch these kids learn how to read and watch the process and be a part of it. So it's a great, great program. There was one other thing I wanted to remember. Set aside a time. If you can do it at the same time every day, that's really helpful. The kids kind of get into a routine. You get into a routine. Pick a time of day where they're awake and alert, not when they're like wanting to take a nap or go to bed, or right when they wake up. Maybe your child is great right when they wake up, and that's the best time to do it. So just kind of pick a time that's good for you and your child. Also, I started the program. I was really excited about it. I talked to my kids about it, told them what we were going to do, showed them the book, told them when we were going to start. And for the first few lessons, it was really fun and exciting, and they were engaged and happy to do it. And then a few lessons in, probably 10 to 15 lessons in, they would get kind of tired of it. So I tried to keep it as exciting and positive as possible. I also bought a plastic jar, and I took my boys down to, I think it was Walmart and the dollar store, and I let them pick out just some little party favors. They have little toys, little candies, stickers. I would even write on pieces of paper extra playtime or extra video game time, and I would let them pull out something out of the treat jar when they finished a lesson. So you can decide what you want that to be. It can be an entire lesson when they finish that, whether it takes 1 day or 2 days. When they finish the whole lesson, they can get a treat, or if they finish 20 minutes of a lesson every day, they can get a treat. It's completely up to you. Whatever will help motivate your child to want to finish the lessons. Also, set a timer. Sometimes that works really well with the children. Sometimes they need to know, okay, this is going to be 10 minutes and then we're going to stop. So they kind of have a time frame. They start to get the idea of what 10 minutes is, and they realize, okay, I can do this for 10 minutes. And if that's what your child's attention span is, just do that. That is totally fine. But just be as consistently as you can. Do it as consistently as you possibly can. And remember, I'm always here to help support you. I'm always here to answer any questions. I've done this so many times. I know a lot of tips and tricks that will help the kids, like if they're not getting a certain letter. Funny story, when my son Preston was doing the reading program, for the life of him, he could not remember the ow sound, the OU sound. And so we kind of laugh about it to this day, but I would show it to him and say the sound, and he would just forget. So I'd give him a little pinch. It really didn't hurt. But he'd go, ow! And I said, yes, that's it. You got it. I don't know if I'm a terrible parent for doing that, but it worked. And he got it, and he remembered the sound, and we laugh about it today. He's 16 years old. But I don't recommend like hurting your children, obviously, but I do know some little things that can kind of help trigger their minds and help them remember certain sounds and letters. So anyway, good luck with the program. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know how things go, and let me know how they're doing with the program. Thank you.